Welcome to the Wake Up Wild Heart Virtual Summit. My name is Ana Paula, and I am a holistic wellness teacher and transformational coach. And I am so excited to introduce to you the incredibly brilliant and kind Dr. Neha Sangwan. Dr. Neha is the CEO and founder of Intuitive Intelligence, an internal medical physician, a communication expert, the author of TalkRx, and the creator of the I5 conversation. Dr. Neha, it is a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Oh, great to be here.
Thank you. And before we jump right in, would you be able to tell our audience a little bit about the I5 conversation?
Sure. So hello, everybody, and welcome. I went through my life realizing that we never learned something really basic, which is how do we actually frame a conversation in order to get what we want. And I think we kind of just watch people older than us around the dinner table, siblings, and we watch what works and we watch what doesn't work. And then we just start to pattern what we think will work. And that also means that if we also pattern what we do when things don't work, whether it's get angry, yell, shut down, cry, whatever it is. So I realized in my 30s working with patients that a lot of frustration in my patients was that they didn't know how to communicate. Usually a physical health crisis has everybody dropping everything and only focusing on their physical health crisis. And so once we stabilized them, I started to help teach them how to communicate. And that's the other interesting thing. Health crises also put into bring to clarity what you value and what's most important in your life in an instant, right? So the I5 conversation that you asked about was born through that. And it's pretty simple, and it can apply to conversations that are simple and easy, that you want to be efficient and direct. It can also apply to when you have a challenging conversation and you aren't sure how to frame it. Mm-hmm. There's 5 parts to it, hence the I5. And I tag the body as well, because what I'm saying is your communication is also linked to your health. So I start and I tag the top. The first component of the I5 conversation is body. So I tag the top of the body and outline the body and say, it's about data. It's about how did you get some information that you need to have a conversation with somebody. So did you look and see Joe whispering to Joan in the meeting? Like, what was the data that you saw, heard, taste, touch, smelled? You used your senses in the world to pick up data. So that's your body. Those are the external cues. Now, with your body, there's also the internal cues. So when you see Joe leaning over and whispering to Joan in a meeting or at the dinner table, you might be thinking to yourself, oh my God, I think they're talking about me. So your heart might start racing. Your stomach might start turning. So there's internal data as well as the external cues. That's all body. So the first component of the I5 conversation is body. Mm-hmm. Once you pick up those cues inside and outside of you, the second part of the I5 conversation, I tag your forehead, is your thoughts. So what's the story you make up to piece that together? I already gave you an example. Oh my God, I think they might be talking about me, right? Another way you might come up with that, and these are the thoughts, I call it the story you make up about the data inside your body and externally. Another way you might make it up is say, I wonder if they're planning a surprise party for mom. Might be about somebody else, right? It might be about them. Oh, they are so rude. Like, can you believe, did anyone not teach them manners? Like, what is going on here? There are a whole variety of thoughts, which I tag the forehead, that can come from what your body is picking up. So step 1, body, gather data outside, inside of you. Step 2, piece it together. And our mind loves to make sense of what's happening in the world. So it will try to piece together what you have just observed. depending on which of those stories you decide to believe, so you move to step 3, which I tag the heart, which is emotions. So let's say you decide to believe which story? The one that they're talking about you. So they're saying something negative about you. What emotion might that generate? So this is the third part of the I-5 conversation. I might be annoyed. I might be worried. I might become paranoid. So that's one emotion. Now, let's say same data, different story. I think they might be planning a surprise party for mom. I might feel anticipation, excitement, joy. So same data, the story I pieced together might lead me to a different emotion because I chose to believe a certain story, right? The third one was, gosh, they are so rude. Did their parents not teach them manners, right? If I choose to believe that story, I will then move into anger. Now, the best part is, which of these stories is true? Which one's true?
You can't really know.
Yeah, we don't know yet. But people cycle through all these emotions and waste all their energy, and they run through anger and feeling surprised and anticipated and excited and irritated and worried. And meanwhile, they don't even know what that data meant because they haven't had a conversation to get curious to ask. So 5 parts in the I-5 conversation, we've gone through body, thoughts, and emotions. Once you have put a story together and you're feeling an emotion, that leads you to, and I tagged my belly, put your hand on your abdomen, it's what you want. So the 4th section is your wants, your desires. So usually when you have an emotion and you're experiencing something, you then want something. So maybe if I get angry, what I want is to, take this, be silent at dinner. I'm not going to say a word for the rest of dinner. Maybe what I want to do is get up and leave because I think it's rude. I don't know what it is that you want. Maybe if I think it's a surprise party going on, what I want is I want to be in on the surprise party. I have some ideas too, right? So depending on which story you believe, what emotion you're experiencing, it now generates the 4th part, which is your wants and desires. And lastly, I tag the foot, which is action. Then it's about how do you integrate your body, thoughts, emotions, and desires into your next conversation, the next move you make. And listen, by the way, I want you to know a move you can make is not saying anything. That's action too. You choose to speak or not to speak. And that can be action as well, saying nothing. So the 5 pieces of the I-5 conversation: body, thoughts, emotions, desires, and action.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. It's like such a clear roadmap of just fluid conversation.
Well, we've been doing it ever since we were born, but we didn't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Dr. Neha, how does knowing what you want help you in a conversation?
How does knowing what you want help you in a conversation?
So I guess with number 4 and interpreting one's desires.
Yeah. All right. So if you don't know what you want, you don't actually know how to steer what comes next. So let's say I asked you to go to the movies and see Moonlight. I said, would you like to go see Moonlight this weekend? And you said to me, yeah, I'd really like to go see it. I'm not sure if I get out of work on time and, I can get somebody to take care of the dog, then yeah, I could do it. Okay. Well, first of all, are we going to Moonlight together?
No.
Not yet. One thing is I know that you said, yeah, let's go. But then you told me there were like these other things that you might need to do in order to make that happen. Now, this is where knowing what I want is so key. Let's say it was the opening night of Moonlight playing, the movie Moonlight. If I know that I want to see this movie on opening day, then if I know that that's what I want, time for me to ask another friend to go with me, right?
Yeah.
Now, if what I want is to spend time with you because you're my college friend and I haven't seen you in a long time and I really want to connect to you, I would say something like this. What if I come over and we both walk your dog? Sounds like you really want to, make sure the dog's taken care of. And then you say, yeah, the dog's been sick, so I don't like leaving, him or her alone. And so, I was a little worried about that. But if I know what I want, which is going to see moonlight the most important thing? If so, get another friend or decide to go by myself. Then I can direct my next action and my next conversation really clearly. But if I don't, if I don't know what I want, then I can do things like take it all personally, like you'd pick your dog over me, and like I start to go down this whole spiral. But if I know that spending time with you is what I want, I would choose my next conversation, and clarity will come by what I say next. But I'll know that because I'll know what I value about this experience. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. So not knowing what you want is an enormous problem in getting what you want.
Yeah, of course.
You think, everybody else seems to get what they want, but I don't get what I want. You got to ask yourself, how clear am I on what I value? And when I go into an exchange with somebody else, do I know what's most important about that so I can navigate what comes next?
Yeah.
Great.
Well, thank you. So one more question of how can we create, I guess, boundaries of communication of when we tend to give too much to other people before taking care of our own needs?
Okay. So this is really common, especially for women. And a lot also, I'd say, for people who are caregivers or in the healthcare field or mothers, right? Sometimes it's fathers too. It's not just women, but I would say there's some reasons. First of all, let me talk a little bit about the reasons for this. So when we are developing as little embryos, I'm going way back. Women have developed with something called oxytocin, which is a tend and befriend hormone, right? Men develop with more testosterone, right? Which is a fight or flight. So it's almost like if a building's burning, right? An emergency sets in, men might say like, let's get out of here, right? And use their testosterone to just get out. Women will do something like this. Okay, does everybody have their coats? Okay, is everybody together? Okay, now let's all go together. Like there's this level of a sense of community versus the hunter-gatherer fight and flightness of the way our ancestors helped with survival. And so the first thing I want the listeners to really know is you caring about other people, it's in your biology and it's a good thing. Something you really want to know, though, is that too much of anything becomes a weakness. So let me tell you what I mean by that. Is basically when someone says, "Oh, you care too much," or you start to notice your energy is draining while you're trying to help others, right? It's that whole in the airplane, put your own oxygen mask on first before you help others.
Yeah.
So helping others is a good thing. When you do it at the expense of yourself, it becomes a weakness. So a weakness is just a strength overused is another way to say that, right?
Yes.
So when somebody gives you constructive feedback, they're giving you, it's like that part of your evaluation or the conversation where someone's saying like, hey, can I give you some feedback? And you're like, oh, no, right? So when you understand that a weakness is just a strength overused, when someone tells you something, what you want to ask yourself is, how can I pull that back a little bit so it becomes a strength again?
Yeah.
So this idea of depleting yourself while you're helping others. So is it a good thing that you're helping others?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing that we think bigger than ourselves, right? But when you do that so much that you are lost in it, it becomes a weakness because you now are trying to help other people while you are drowning. How effective are you in the ocean rescuing other people when you are drowning? Right? So the first part is recognizing that this is a strength. It's just been overused and you forgot about you.
Yeah.
So a lot of times people say, well, that's so mean. It's so mean to say no to other people. Like, I can't hurt other people and say no to them. Well, I think the problem is that you're thinking about it the wrong way. You're not saying no to other people. You're saying yes to you. And so I call that, some people have been raised to believe that that's selfish. I actually think it's self-full, F-U-L-L.
Love it. Yeah.
Self-full. And if you were driving a car from New York to California, could you do it if the tank was on empty? You couldn't take everybody with you. You might want to take them with you. It might be a really good idea. You pack the car, you put food, but there's no gas in the car. And if there's no gas in the car, everybody is staying exactly where they are. So it's about filling your own tank. And I want you to think about the times where you think it's selfish and realize that actually I have to be self-full so that I can give from a place of genuine giving and caring. If you're somebody who tends to want to give, and that's where you get your like feeling full, I tell you, me too. I'm an internal medicine physician, and I did it all the way to burnout. And once I burned out, I end up becoming a liability to my own team and all the people that I'm trying to help. So what the question you asked me was on boundaries, right? How do you draw boundaries? So I actually didn't write about this specifically in my book. So what I will say is, once you get clear about the signals coming in and out, you understand the stories you're making up, you understand your emotions and what you value, now you can go out in the world and start making agreements with other people, right? Now, if you have been this over-caring, over-giving, always accessible to everybody else, people-pleasing person your whole life, let me tell you, you just deciding one day to tell people that suddenly you have boundaries probably isn't going to go over well.
Yeah.
Because they're going to think to themselves, like, what do you mean? You've always been available to me. What do you mean? No. What cult have you joined? Like, people in your life, especially the ones close to you, are not going to be okay with this. So the first thing you got to know is when you start to include yourself in the conversation, you're going to have some discomfort inside you that comes with changing and shifting how you relate to other people. The way I think of it is like, you know, over a baby's crib is like a mobile, like that mobile, and it has all these like strings hanging down, and the baby's looking up at it. If you pull on one of those, or you change one of those, because that's you in your family, in your community, in your life, all the other ones start going off balance. Like, what? We thought we understood who you were in our lives. So the first thing you want to do is you want to realize, oh, if I make this change, it might be a little uncomfortable for a while. How do I have practices in my life? Do I know how to breathe? Do I know how to reground myself so that when this gets uncomfortable, I can self-manage? Otherwise, it will sound like this. You know how I always walk your dog for you every morning and every evening? I might not be able to do that starting Monday. What would you say if I said that to you?
I wouldn't be very happy about it. I'd be in shock. Like, what happened?
Yeah, like, what happened? What do you mean? And then if I don't have my own practices and I don't understand that things might be changing, I'll go like this. You know what? Just kidding. I'll do it. Sorry, didn't mean to make you uncomfortable. I'll take care of it. I'll figure out how to do it. I mean, and then I start backtracking and doing this whole thing that's like a dance. It's like this. I turn myself into a pretzel to make sure you're happy with me. So before you get all the way to setting boundaries to change things with other people, I need you to understand, first of all, there's going to be some discomfort. What are your methods to ground yourself? And by the way, in chapter 3, this is my book, it's called TalkRx. But in chapter 3, I think it's called Numbing Out and Tuning In. 4 is tuning in. So in tuning in, I teach you how to use some techniques to kind of reground yourself. So once you do that, what you want to reframe in your thoughts is, I'm not saying no to somebody else, I'm saying yes to me. And then it sounds like this. Do I say Anna or Anna?
Anna.
Anna, because I say it both ways and I want to make sure I say it right. So I'd say, hey, Anna. I'd set myself up for success. Hey, Anna, you know how I've been walking your dog for the last 3 years in the morning and evening?
Yeah.
I just want you to say, your dog's adorable, and I have enjoyed all of it. Some things are changing in my life, and I want to have a conversation with you to talk to you about how that might work or not work really moving forward. And I'm wondering when you have 10, 15 minutes for us to discuss that. See how that's a different conversation than me going right in and saying, like, can't walk your dog, been doing it, I'm not doing it anymore. Right? So what I do is I set the conversation up for success.
Yeah.
So you might still be surprised and be like, what do you mean I depend on you? And right? But the truth is I'm being really respectful. I'm saying, hey, been doing this, really like it. Things are changing. I need to have a conversation with you about that. So I kind of warm you up to that. That's setting the conversation up for success. Now, when we're in the conversation, what I'd say to you is to set some boundaries. You know, I've really enjoyed doing this. If that's true, you don't say things that aren't true. I really enjoyed doing this. And in fact, you know, it really allowed me to connect in a way to get unconditional love from your dog. I've really enjoyed doing it. And it got me walking. You know, it's amazing. And I've just found this new apartment. My life is changing. I've got this new job and new opportunity, whatever it is. And I want to figure out a way that we can transition this and have it work for you and work for me. And there's a part of me a little worried, you know, that you'll be upset about this or that me changing this is a problem. And what I want you to know is I care about our relationship and our friendship. And I know how important having honest conversations and being direct is. So I'm wondering, you know, what are your thoughts on this? You see how it's a little bit more gentle?
Yeah.
And would it feel authentic to you if I said that to you?
Absolutely.
And so I think people think that saying no or drawing boundaries is like the end of their relationship with people. But I actually think of it as an opportunity. If you do it well and you've thought about it and you understand yourself and you understand that respecting someone else, that it might actually be a great opportunity to connect you on a deeper level with someone else.
Yeah.
You know, little short-term discomfort, yes. Long-term gain.
Absolutely. That was beautiful and a beautiful example. Thank you.
Yeah, you're so welcome. You're so welcome.
So, Dr. Neha, before we wrap this up, because we're almost out of time, what would you recommend people start implementing in their daily lives, like to catch themselves, to improve their conversations? Like, what's a good starting step, I guess?
Yeah. So the first step is body. So paying attention and knowing that your body is always talking to you. The question is, are you listening? Because we become so good at saying, you know what, I'll grab a coffee. Oh, I have that feeling of sinking energy. You know what, make it a double today. And so what we do is we have all these strategies that numb us out to getting the information that gives us the earliest warning signals that something is aligning or not aligning with what we want or what we value. And we ignore those signals until they get so loud that we are sick or we get physically ill or our relationship blows, you know, we blow up or our relationship disintegrates or we get fired or whatever it is. So I'd say catching the signals early, learning to listen deeply and knowing in what form you learn best. Do you learn best in video? Do you learn best in audio? Do you learn best by reading? If you know yourself, start to get a sense of what's working and what's not working. So I would leave them with one exercise, which would be for the next 7 days, pick a 7-day stretch where on your phone, you make a little ongoing list. One is the people, tasks, experiences, and interactions that give you energy, and the same people, tasks, experiences, and interactions that drain you of energy. Mm-hmm. And as you do that and track it for 1 week, right next to it, say how you knew. Heart racing, stomach turning, sinking feeling. Like, how do you physically know that that's happening? And at the end of a week, look back at that and start to recognize the patterns that are happening, and how many tasks and people and experiences in your life are you allowing in that are at the expense of you. Mm-hmm. It's a great starting point.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. That's so valuable.
Yeah.
So before we say goodbye, can you tell everybody where they can find you and how to reach you?
Sure. So my main website is drneha.com. So you spell out the word doctor, DoctorNeha.com. Mm-hmm. You can find me on social media at Facebook. It's Neha Sangwan MD. I also, if you do, and Twitter and LinkedIn and Google and all of that, Google Plus, if somebody is interested in the book and you get the book, I do things like online TalkRx book club with the author. Mm-hmm. The way you can find that is in the resources pages. You go and join the private TalkRx Facebook community, which is open to anyone that gets the book. I also do live workshops. So I do workshops, public workshops, which you can find on my events page on my website. And if you want to check out some video blogs that I've done, those are also on the website. So know how you learn and use that as the method of entry.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. And
you are so welcome.
It's been a pleasure having you, Dr. Neha. Thank you.
Well, thank you for your passion and your insight and wanting to empower and engage women in the world.
Thank you. Thank you
and
so much.
And any men on this as well. I'm not just partial to women. Really, any soul that's ready for more in their life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.